Good morning. Going to be a hell of a week. Starting out pretty sleepy here, though. Okay. Should be a mover. Right? Last week, we cleared some resistance and right smack up against some big numbers here to try and get through whole numbers, open interest levels up or down. And there's a void above. So the pattern is constructive for this market to go higher, as long as it doesn't violate these lows. We're starting out with the futures here. You can see them move up, and it's a little consolidation there. And so, like anytime we get a big wide range bar, right, what you can see right there, you look at the intraday charts and you see how that formed, and it creates a price void. So this is, Dan and I every week in MT Live, we talk about the factory work, and concepts and step-by-step systematic process and all that. And so here's the void right here. There's the momentum move. And good morning, George. And so now the idea is, all right, strong demand, buyers, you're impressive, create some support to see if you can go higher. And to some extent, that's what's going on here, this sideways price action. However, it's also creating some resistance. And the assumption is, just based on the price action, that demand, since it cleared this resistance, it should continue if it can successfully build a new support area, which obviously means, like, whether it's a 1, 2, it's not going to be a 1, 2, 3 or a 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 or whatever. It'll be able to move up. Now, what happened back here, if you remember, you go back and look at the videos at the time where we were talking the same thing. And then some news was coming out. I forget, maybe it was a Fed announcement. I forget what it was. But anyway, when I'm consoles, it's just running out of time. So it's not like it can become a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. It's just that strong momentum and that move at some point, usually within 3 days, or it's got to get going again. Can't take forever. And here, so looking at a little more detail, ultimately it's got to break. But this was rejected, and then we had this down move, and now it's just got a trading range going on here. And I suspect, everybody's just kind of like waiting for some news event to propel this market one way or the other than just, back and forth trading, which is going on here. As we see, prices are up a little bit, but as we look at the chart, it's relatively meaningless. And the weekly chart's still in a downtrend. It peekabooed its head above there. So, whether we look at it from this little more detailed point of view or this condensed point of view, this is a peekaboo into this, where it could go higher, where this could form a sell setup, or it just goes right back down again. The weakest link is the momentum move if it breaks this low. So we're in waiting mode, so to speak, other than, maybe some movers of individual stocks, intraday trades. Credit spreads could be tough, because it's the beginning of the week, other than 0 DTE. So we're kind of like in limbo, so to speak, to start the week. But I don't think we're going to stay there very long with different earnings reports coming out, and obviously the Fed on Wednesday. But, thank you, George. There's the calendar of economic events. That's a nice, clean one for sure. I like that. The one that I use has all different countries, which sometimes is interesting to look at. But thank you for sharing that. It's a nice one. Yeah, I like it. It's a keeper. All right, so neutral there. Let's look at SPY. I only do this to kind of get a feel for where things are at, to think about SPX setup. So why is that down there like that? Oh, it's gapping up a little bit into the red bar. So this filled the gap, right? Hit 400, the big level. We got kind of a sell setup, but a sell setup after a strong move. So what we'd be looking for, and just going with the charts, get rid of some of this mess here, something we were talking about, I guess, last week. And is that pullbacks, and look, the idea of what was resistance becoming support, beyond what's directly to the left there, but it does play out. People look at it. So pullbacks into this area. And then I look at that area and say, is there anything there? And on the hourly chart, there isn't, meaning there's the gap up and the momentum move. And so these, like, we call them minor support areas, have to hold up, but it's not that far away. So buyers will have to come in kind of like whatever, just in this area here where these bars overlap, maybe to form what should be a higher low setup, or down here around the rising 20 MA, which I don't think will happen today. And all right, so SPX levels, we definitely want to be above 4,000 and ideally below 3,900. Wow, that's kind of girly looking, Mikhail. What is with all the pinky stuff? Did you pick those colors? That's pretty cool. Kind of map of everything with the dates on it too. That's pretty cool. Simplistically, I like George's better. Okay. All right, SPX. Let's see what interest rates are doing here this morning. Yes, it is same site. That up a little bit. Yeah, this is it's interesting what's going on now with interest rates. They're coming down, and the Fed's going to raise rates. And check this out: 30-year versus a 3-month plummeting over the last couple of weeks, coming down toward, this 0.5 level is like, warning Will Robinson, this is getting bad. He had these others down here already inverted the early warning. And so, in the past, this has always come down prior to the markets turning down, whereas this time the markets have turned down already. And we've got these either inversion or really close to it, which kind of leads to the idea of, stagflation, because, you've gotten all these industrial metals having plummeted and ags having come down recently. And so it's going to be some interesting times. That's for sure. It's not going to be a no-brainer market environment by any stretch of the imagination, but these interest rates coming down and the idea of a recession. Watch this 5-year and this 10-year this week, so they're up a little bit. So as if this continues to move up, these home builders that did well over the last week or two, you're going to see some selling there. And yeah, I hear you, McGraw. It's going to be danger. And, it's going to be danger for those that don't know what the hell they're doing. It's kind of like, you're going to be walking into a hurricane, and, the hurricane maybe hasn't started yet, so to speak, but you have no idea what was coming at you. So it's going to be kind of wild. And then the election's coming up in November, and so a lot of things that could be big influences. But you want to keep an eye on this, because the whole idea of inflation, and they're going to raise interest rates and all, everything is coming up. And now, mortgages becoming more and more expensive, of course, and home builders cratering and Home Depot and all of that. And so now if this begins to break down from here, in part people say, oh, interest rates are coming down. That's good. Well, yeah, maybe technologies, starts basing out, but the whole idea of, interest rates are coming down, but there's really no growth, stagflation. So it's going to be definitely keep an eye on this. And that TBT, which is a combination of interest rates, having already broken down, it's up this morning, and I kind of thought it would do that. And so now what we're watching, one of the things we're watching for this week is to buy TLT, which is down this morning. And you see it's down here into the gap fill. It's been in a downtrend, but that's been bottoming out. So interest rates topping out, bonds bottoming out. Maybe, unless this just craters, which we're waiting to see how it shows up. But what it does is, coming down into this gap fill, what's going to happen in the next couple of days. Good morning, Rod. So pretty interesting things, even though the market isn't moving very much. There's some forces in play here that are going on. It's going to make it at least interesting to start. And while the markets are up a little bit, you got Bitcoin going the other way, which has had a relatively close correlation. So it's making me think, you know what, if you're just looking at this, at the market's up and that's a positive, and you see interest rates moving up a little bit, Bitcoin moving down, it's like somebody's trying to get suckered into this market here on the long side today. But we'll see. So even though this is moving down, it should form a little buy setup here. If this keeps pushing lower, so odds are these reversals that happen, and some of them were nasty last week. I mean, this doesn't look so bad, but there's stocks with gigantic wide range red bars that saw selling. And for example, like Google, and everybody saw the gap down in Meta, and they got these earnings reports coming out, which again is going to make it interesting, and how things are going to move and how this plays out by the end of the week. All right, SPX, you definitely got to get above 4,000. They zeroed me out on TC. I'm not getting write it down. All right, 38.95. Absolutely. It's got to get through these lows. It's got to get through the 50 MA. Thank you, Jacob. Definitely 38.95 is good. Yes. So that's the thing, so as this market starts to jiggle around a little bit, right now it's an inside day, right? You got to get above 40.50, right? That should, if it's moving up above there, you should be golden. Shouldn't get up there today, and down below 3,900 should be all good, right? So you go there, and second of time, Qs, flat. It's not doing anything. Kind of rolling here, but will it break those lows? I mean, it should break it. It should pull back, because look, let it pull back, let's say into this area here around 12,200, give or take. And so my thinking over the weekend was, let it pull back into these earnings reports that are coming out, Wednesday, Thursday, the Fed, all that. So let's get some selling out of the way, and maybe take a little, gas out of the tank as far as whatever the news might be that could drive prices lower. So, the Dow just sitting there for now. I think there were 12 Dow stocks reporting earnings this week. I don't believe any of them today. Russell was kind of sitting there, same scenario, should get some kind of pullback toward the 50. You got a little topping pattern there. See if it breaks down below. We've already looked at Bitcoin. Crude oil's up a little bit, but that's been kind of messy. And keep an eye on these oil stocks with oil starting to bottom. See XLE, this downside move, pop, new low. The lows are closer together, deep retracement. So we're going to see if this can maybe start making a big turnaround. I mean, this is one of the only sectors that's plus on the year. Silver and gold doing nothing. So, yep, don't get too enthusiastic here this morning. Wait a little bit to see how things get going. All right. MTZ. Again, Dan's going to look at the stocks. I didn't see any really interesting gappers. I don't know why this is taking so long. But go ahead, Dan, you take it over.
Good morning. Yeah, so we did a lot of trimming Friday after a nice rally all week long. And Greg and I did a great little Sunday impromptu review of gappers, and they were all our trades last week. And so those you should take a look at. They were all this great lesson on gaps. So yeah, here's one, a big gap down, MTZ. It was a potential bottoming pattern with a 1, 2, 3. That I would have bought that over the high. So yeah, well, and so we talked about gaps, pro gaps, novice gaps, bullish and bearish gaps, other gaps, excessive gaps. So this one I'd throw into the camp of excessive gap, but I mean, it's a nasty pro gap, but it's excessive. So I don't know what to do with it, but I throw it in the camp of it's so big. Let's see if buyers step up. And then with the nasty gap down, I would be inclined to selling out of the money expensive put if they're liquid or day trade. But I put it in the window of my other computer. All right, so all our opens are fine. If you have any questions on any individual one, just ask me. Let's see. Weber here is another big old ugly gap. I just saw it tanking as Greg was talking. Now, I remember when this thing came public over here, it's 20 bucks. And there were some fundamental analysts saying this is a ridiculous valuation for selling these friggin' grills. And that's a beautiful example of, yep, fundamentals will catch up in the long run. You could have excessive, greed in the short term. Riven was another example. This thing was up at 180 bucks. That tail is real. And then, yeah, exactly. Peter. What's the plan with it? I had got to check because we bailed on most of the EV stocks on Friday because of the bearish reversal, but I need to check because so yeah, Riven, so we had 3 trades on Riven. One was short $25 puts, which we stopped. One was in the weekly options trader, 7, less than 10 DT. We stopped out at a profit. And yeah, there's a long stock that we were actually doing as a core trade with a stop of a bigger stop, 31.78. So we'll just let that play out. Go into hope mode here, but it was a nasty reversal in the sector. Phase, this totally looks like a SPAC. That's the footprint of a SPAC right there. It's gapping up today, but I'm not messing with that. Not my wheelhouse. Amazon was the cover of Barron's bullish article. we traded this bottom down here also. Nice little gap up from a 1, 2, 3. That was a beautiful trade. Tesla. I saw CNBC saying they disclosed that they lost 170 million. Tesla did in their Bitcoin holdings, but obviously it looks priced in because there was no reaction to it and gapping up here. I posted this airline here is gapping up over a red bar, so that's a beautiful gap trade. Gap reversal off the low, going sideways, flag 20, bearish engulfing, gapping over it here to $75. Gap's not too big. 30-minute high, we can buy the stock, and I will also be watching it for a naked out of the money, $65 puts. I'm going to try to get into RPM. All right, see now this, see it's gapping to 89 now. I thought I saw a print pre-market where it was gapping to 94. If this were gapping to 94 after a multi-bar run, I would have looked to fade it. Still, I got a bearish bias for the same reason, but when you fade these gap and snappers, I like the bigger the gap, the better. MTZ, no, we just talked about it. Gap's too big. There's no. We don't. I mean that thing's down monstrous. Monthly is a bull sandwich, and monthly still looks lower, believe it or not, but gap's excessive. Post, this is one, if it can break out over last week's high, I both long stock and short put. This thing gapping down 1820. All right, so it's gapping this prior low, but that's such a mess. It doesn't even make it to my interest list. SIGA 14. Okay, so this one may be 30-minute high. It trades pretty wild, but it's on an uptrend. Yeah, rising 50, rising 200, and gapping over Friday's ugly red bar. Let's see what it does. First 30 minutes. Infi, I think had earnings, but no pattern. Actually, that could be a condor. Believe it or not, I gave 2 condor ideas here this week. One's GME and one is AutoNation. Look, this is a beautiful pattern for a condor. You got, I like to see flat MAs like this, because that's telling you that all trends, and you need wide support and resistance. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4 resistance. I got 1, 2, 3, and higher ones here. So I actually have I have my order out already, pre-market on that one, AutoNation. Boeing, I think they said the union's going to go on strike, maybe the mechanics or something or other. We traded this last week, both long stock and short put spreads. PHG, bearish gap. All right, so that's gap and the support. Which I don't know what to do with it. It's down a lot from 31 over here. Yum, favorable mention in Barron's. If it can get over Friday's high, it might break out. But you can see here weekly's at resistance, so I don't know. I think we can find better. There's the Reiner Air I talked about. That's one of my favorite gap trades here so far. ICPT, I think had earnings. I can't tell where it's gapping, but this is a short candidate. Under last week's low, you got a sell set up on the weekly, so the bigger time frame confirms. I'll actually put that in a window. CPT. Delta X-ray gapping down, but that would have been a long over Friday's high, but now 1609 is gapping the support, no interest. NEM down $2. Look at that ugly downtrend daily, weekly. Look at the angle of these, the 20 and 50. That is just power dumpage. I personally don't like trading. I don't like trading gold sector. Oh, I got filled. I wonder if that was AutoNation. Or I have a couple other, buy to closes, so I got to check because I have actually no idea. Oh, I did. I got filled on. And I got price improvement. That's not good. All right, I got filled at 163 on AutoNation. All right, so I'm in that. GMR, hey, GMRE. This was a little bottoming pattern. Are we in this one already? No, so this was in the weekend letter, okay. And post went off. Post is triggering a Zoom alarm. The Zoom is a call spread. All right, so this is a go. Zoom is a go. Let me check the numbers. Uh, 114, 120. Midpoint is 63. All right, so if you get 68, it's a go. And you can just tiny little bounce. All right, the 4 horsemen, 5 Qs, 5 15-minute chart. But that's nothing on the daily. So there's, I take that back. There's no